Good morning. Today we're going to be continuing our journey through page 4 of the Sophia Code. And I want to thank you for all of your beautiful comments in yesterday's video. It's so good to read your feedback, to hear your reflections about how connecting to the Divine Mother is changing your life, supporting you to have a more radiant day, a more self-loving day. Feel free to introduce yourself in the chat, or if you're watching the replay in the comment field. I know that everyone loves to get to know each other during these lives, and it's just so great to see everyone coming on today. So it's a little chilly, but I decided to do this live outside on my porch, and I'm excited. I don't know if you can hear the birds, but they're singing for us, and that feels really good. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Oh, so yeah, I think we'll just jump right in here and begin by invoking that beautiful circle of empowerment, sovereign empowerment, which is how we begin the process of visualizing the truth of our sovereignty. So taking a deep breath in, exhaling out, becoming present to this moment. Sophia is hunting the birds on the roof deck here. She is discovering her inner tiger. Oh. And visualizing that circle of empowerment around your body, anywhere between 3 to 6 feet outside of you. Drawing that circle of light around your body. And noticing what color your circle of empowerment is. If you'd like to write what color your circle of empowerment is, feel free to write that in the chat. And just breathing into the sacred space that is you. Breathing into that circle of light that's creating a sacred boundary around you. And that circle of empowerment is designed to allow divine love to flow towards you, but to also filter out lower level energies that you just don't need in your body, heart, or mind. And so when we invoke the Ascended Masters in your circle of empowerment, what they do is they help stand with you in what kind of mitigating what's allowed to come into contact with you. So if you are in a situation that has a mixed bag of resonance, you can stay in your own sovereign divine light. You can stay in your own resonance and project out the positive solutions and helpful, loving energies that can come forward from your soul, regardless of all circumstances. So breathing into your physical body, your physical form, we invite you to connect to the presence of your higher self within every cell of your body. And the light of your higher self literally exists within every cell of your body. It's anchored in the divine genome. And we call forth those Ascended Master key codes that help amplify our awareness of these wonderful divine attributes that already exist within us. In the north, we welcome White Buffalo Woman. In the northeast, we welcome Isis. I'm wearing my Isis Ankh of Immortality pendant today, so I was really feeling Isis last night. In the northeast, we welcome Hathor. In the southeast, we welcome Green Tara. In the south, we welcome Mother Mary. In the southwest, I welcome Mary Magdalene. In the west, I welcome Kuan Yin, the Maha-Avatar Babaji. And in the northwest, we welcome our friends, the Holy Seraphim, the Sophia Dragons. And feeling how when you invoke your Ascended Master mentors, your angelic guides, you can welcome all of the archangels and the star nations to create all the angelic orders to create concentric circles around your circle of empowerment. This provides some organization, some context for you to fully feel yourself within your own circle, within your own body, and then to feel your spiritual guides and guardian angels organizing outside of that circle, so that you know where to look, you know where internally you may need to reach out for additional support regarding, a specific facet of your life or a topic that you're working on. Maybe you just intuitively know, I need to work with Isis on something, or I really need to connect with Kuan Yin about self-love today. And you might turn your body to the Western direction and make a prayer. And because you're practicing the circle of empowerment every day, you know where to turn within and maybe even in your external world to really reinforce your awareness that help is here, support is here, for you to live in your sovereignty. What does it mean to live in our sovereignty? Well, for starters, we remember where we come from, which is from the source, or if you call the source God, or we also interchangeably call the source and God Sophia, or Divine Mother, or Divine Father. It's that divinity that gave birth to your soul. And because your soul was born of God consciousness, it is free of all worlds of form. So that means you are sovereign from form. And you have a free will choice that if you want to incarnate into form, you can, because you're God consciousness that can do anything. You can become human. You could become another species if you want. You could go to Earth. You could go to a different planet. And in the light of your sovereign divinity, you can have all of these experiences of incarnation, but the experiences of incarnation do not have power over you. They do not hold you to that world. They cannot enslave you. The wounds that you experience in that incarnated body, ooh, all the birds just flew out at once. That was cool. They don't have any power over you. Your soul can heal from anything. And in fact, can heal your memory from any lifetime. And that's what we're doing in the Sophia Code as we walk through these teachings. We're bringing quantum healing to all of our lifetimes, which are happening simultaneously. And we are returning to the wholeness of our invincible divine light, which has never been harmed, which is all powerful and all knowing, and has the power to orchestrate all of these incarnations simultaneously. So what does this point us back to? How unlimited we are, how blessed we are, how radiant we are. And that the more we focus upon that aspect of our eternal existence, the larger part of us can influence this itty bitty part of us that's being human, that's having a human experience in this dream. And Deborah's writing in, your explanation of sovereignty was so helpful yesterday. I'm going to listen to it again. I'm coming up lately quite a bit, much confusion in others and myself about sovereignty. Good. Well, I'm glad this is coming up and that we can keep talking about it. And I'm going to keep talking about it. It's like sovereignty has nothing to do with this world. If the only part of this world that helps us define our sovereignty is that we are not bound by this world. The divinity of our soul is eternal. It's endless. It's all powerful. It is the light of creation. It is a fractal of God consciousness. And you get to choose when you take on a human body or another body in another planet. And that's why you're sovereign. And that's why you're free. And that's why you can access divine solutions that don't even exist in this world. It's how the Sophia Code got downloaded into this world. I was asked to access this information directly from the source in sovereign co-creation with the Ascended Masters. The Sophia Code does not come from this world. It talks about this world. It brings to light the lineage teachings of each of these masters, of these angelic orders, but it brings the sovereign perspective of their divine light back into this world and returns us to their original source teachings. Do you see the difference? We're not working from the context of this planetary matrix, which is mediocre at best and filled with programming and viral lies that would keep us enslaved to doctrine and religious programming and all sorts of power struggles and duality. And the Sophia Code literally unplugs us from all of us and plugs us directly into our source. It says, look, this is where if you plug into your source, everything in this world becomes a sovereign playground for you. excuse me, because you're not playing the checkers of, just back and forth checkers of this earth plane and the matrix programming here, which can so easily hook and confound the ego structure. You're playing the chess of your higher self, downloading directly from the source into this world, enlightening your human awareness to play at a level of co-creation with life that is honestly what the Ascended Masters lived at. That's what we are gearing up for. That's what we are practicing to the best of our ability every day with our mystery school curriculums. Our Sophia Circle leaders get to experience it as they lead Sophia Circle journeys, because the blueprint of our Sophia Circle leadership was directly downloaded from that seventh plane, Christ consciousness, source consciousness, reality, where we get to identify how do we lead through Christ consciousness, where the greater part of our consciousness, our higher self, is doing the heavy lifting, it's doing the facilitation of sacred space in co-creation with the Ascended Masters. We're not relying on the human ego structure or even the human awareness to have to know what's happening next. We are training ourselves and learning how to live as masters, which is tuning into that higher self-consciousness that always can download the next solution, the next answer, the next pearl of wisdom in the present moment, beyond striving, efforting, or contriving a way to be of service to others. It's a fascinating process that can only be felt from the inside out. I can talk and talk and talk about what it means to awaken to the truth of your sovereign divinity, but there are very specific steps that you can do that will show you for yourself through the mystery school curriculums that we offer. The first step is to walk through all 8 Keycode initiations in the Sophia Code, and then to walk through them again as many times as you need to continue to clear the wounding and download the light of your higher self, and to feel it integrating in your daily choices. The next step is to work with the activations, which build upon the initiations that we offer in the Sophia Code. And then doing the Stargate 1 curriculum, you learn how to mentor in greater detail and depth with the Ascended Masters through every chapter of the Sophia Code. From there, you start to embody your higher self in such life-changing ways. You start to think about your divine purpose. You start to think about, how can I help others and be of service and lead from this consciousness that you're embodying because of all this, all of these activations and initiations and journey into the teaching and learning how to embody it. That's where the Stargate 2 curriculum, the psychic development, the Sophia Circle leadership, that's where that starts to come in. Each curriculum builds upon the another, because it's just extremely multidimensional that way. Today, we're going to continue our very foundational steps of remembering what it means to be a sovereign divine being in this world by returning to page 4 in the Sophia Code. We are walking through one self-loving step at a time, the teachings of the Sophia Code, page by page, together as an international community, because this is a sacred text of sovereignty, and humanity is being confronted with all the ways that it has allowed itself to be enslaved by matrix programming, by viral belief systems that would keep humanity's idea about itself extremely small and programmable and obedient to rules, lies, agendas, and narratives that are holding humanity's heart hostage from the truth of its sovereign potential. So, with that said, we're beginning at the beginning. In the very beginning of chapter 1, it says, Sophia is the source. And why is it important? Because she is the source, or source is the source. Sophia is a interchangeable name for source. It has the same numbers of letters in the word. It's the source of our sovereignty. The source is the source of our sovereignty. And so if you want to remember why you are free from this world, as Jesus taught, be of this world, but not of this world. Be in this world, but not of this world. Be, minister to this world, serve this world, take responsibility for yourself, but know that how you can do that is by accessing a greater power within you that is not bound to this world. That's what we're talking about here in chapter 1 of the Sophia Code. When you are in communion with your source, whatever you call God, you are tapping into your higher power that can work miracles on this planet, in your own heart, and in the lives of others, period. That is the essence of true sovereignty. So we left off on paragraph 2. It's the second paragraph of section 2 of chapter 1 on page 4 in the Sophia Code. And I'm going to read this out loud. And you're welcome to read this out loud with me if you like. And these are the words of Sophia. And she said, this is her continuing to speak with us. Sophia says, I invite you to step inside my presence and remember the ineffable mystery of my warm black womb as the source of all immaculate conceptions. Nothing exists within the absolute stillness of my womb. Yet, witness how my presence listens within the silence for what is arising as the next great asking to be born. From my womb of no thing arises all that is. The first koan of your soul is that your voice asked me to birth you into eternity before you ever existed. And I am the voice that said yes to you. All right, so that's about as much as we're going to unpack today, because those two paragraphs point to not only the source of your sovereignty, but the depth of incredible love and adoration that this Divine Mother's voice is speaking about, how she birthed you like a baby's soul within her womb long ago, whenever that was for your soul. And she's saying, step inside the consciousness of my presence. What is that? She's saying, come into communion with the eternal presence and the all-loving presence that I am. Okay, this is the Divine Mother. And remember, Divine Mother is only one aspect of God consciousness. So if the source, God consciousness, is so overwhelming for us, we talked about this yesterday, we personalize it by giving it names like Divine Mother or Divine Father. All that matters is that you use words that help you invoke and feel that it's safe to commune with your source. That's the whole point of any name. It's endearing for us. It helps us feel safe. It helps us feel connected to something that is larger than life itself, because it gives birth to life. So this presence of the Divine Mother, she's like, step inside my presence. And she's saying, and recall for yourself. Now she's speaking to your soul. She's saying, your soul knows the ineffable mystery of my warm black womb. So why do we use that word ineffable? We're using that because these teachings are a transmission that confound the ego structure on purpose, because your ego structure is always going to try to classify, systemize, organize, and most importantly, minimize the magnitude of God, because that helps your ego structure feel safe and in control. But when we come into the presence of God, we are coming into the presence of something so larger than life that there's no controlling the source. There's no even really grasping the totality of God. We can think we know what God is, but God is so much bigger than what our ego structure and our localized human awareness can even begin to understand. And that's a good thing, because we wouldn't want a source that was controllable or systemizable or could be put into a box. It's like I love to say at my events, like, you can't put a dragon inside a shoebox. It's not even possible. And that's the same way how we need to start reconstructing how we view source consciousness, the source that gives life to all life, the source that keeps everything orbiting, and it's, the constellations orbiting, and the star nurseries giving birth to new stars. It's like the breath of life that's sustaining you is a miracle, and you're not in control of it. None of us are. Thank God this presence, this source, is a source of all love. It's unconditionally loving, and it's so loving that it gave you a free will. Do you understand? Can you start to feel the magnitude of the miracle of what you are and what creation is and what our source is? That's love. That's a real love. That's not some like religious doctrine telling you you are a sinner or less than, or a have to, or a should, or a control. Like real love has no control. Real love is an invitation to the presence of power that is so powerful that it's willing to reflect back to you that it made you in that same image and likeness. And so what she's saying is, you need the first step to identifying the miracle that you are. I get very excited. I'm very passionate this morning because, speaking about Sophia means everything to me. When I finally came into a full understanding of how personal this source consciousness is to our hearts, how much she loves us and knows us and believes in us, I wanted to shout it from the rooftop. I am on my rooftop right now shouting about this, how loved you are, how loved we are. It feels really good to talk about it. So thank you for creating this space for this kind of joy to pour through. And to talk about the miracle that we are and to feel the miracle we are. The first step of understanding the miracle of all of creation, which is an ineffable mystery to our ego structure. But your soul, it is not a mystery. To your soul, it is the truth. It is the way. It is the life of understanding the grace of this universe that we are blessed to be a part of. It's that you came from nothing. We all did. This whole planet, everything that's physical came from the nothing, the primordial space that many ancient spiritual lineages call the womb. And so when I go into extremely deep states of channeled consciousness, completely letting go and releasing myself from the context of this world and merging with source consciousness, what I see is the primordial nothingness. Nothing. It's only space. There's not even stars. It's just the black womb of no thing. And miraculously from the nothing, the consciousness of source is simultaneously existing, giving birth to the light that is arising out of nothing. And this immediately confounds the ego structure. The ego structure wants to, again, classify, systemize, hang a hat on a label, make it controllable and understandable. And there's just nothing understandable, that everything that we are breathing and existing and enjoying is literally arising out of the nothing perpetually and eternally. At any moment, the presence of God could just flip a switch and all of this would be gone. Your perception of it, your interfacing with this physical world, it's being sustained by the divine love of Sophia, of God, source consciousness. It is the light perpetually arising out of nothing. This is why in the Zen practice, one of their most powerful mantras is, form is emptiness and emptiness is form. One of the most foundational mantras for beginning to free your mind from this matrix of density that is the planet. There's nothing wrong with the density of this planet. I love this planet. The physical manifestation and creation of this planet is gorgeous. What's been overlaid as matrix programming upon this planet is a nightmare. But the actual planet, as we share in the Sophia Code, she's the divine feminine Christ being, and so generous to allow for us to have this experience of incarnation within her body, heart, and mind. But this nothingness, the stillness of her womb, she says, listen for how my presence within this silent, notice how my presence, the source consciousness, this divine love, is listening within the stillness for what is asking to be born. Again, another mystery. How could something be asking to be born that doesn't even exist yet? Another miracle. And not only that, but she says, you were asking to be born. She said, the first koan of your soul is that your voice asked me to birth you into eternity before you ever existed. And I am the voice that said yes to you. Emptiness is form, form is emptiness. Everyone says they want to be spiritually awakened. This is the beginning of spiritual awakening. It's the willingness to understand that your ego structure does not understand the truth of reality, nor will it. It will only ever get momentary glimpses of the perfection, the primordial miracle that we are existing within, and that we are within the grace of this divine mother, divine father consciousness, this source consciousness that is loving us in our highly focused, day-to-day human experience, where we often forget the grace of this miracle in motion that began when some aspect of Sophia asked to be born as you. That's what this is saying. Some aspect of her own consciousness, of God consciousness, rose up and said, I want to be born as your soul. Again, another ineffable mystery to the ego structure, but the miracle of you nonetheless, being mirrored to you through these words in the Sophia Code. Wow. How is this landing for you this morning? This is like some pretty intense stuff for 8 in the morning. I'd love to hear your feedback, any questions that are coming up in the chat. You can also write your feedback and your questions in the comments on the replay. And so finally, my final teaching that I'd like to offer about this, or that is coming through, is in the word koan. This is part of the Zen tradition, when teachers in the Zen tradition master teachers would leave behind a koan, a riddle for their students, their most beloved students, to identify. Say hello. Oh, Sophia saying hello this morning. She's making an appearance. Oh. They would leave behind a riddle of all their teachings. And so what Sophia is saying is that if you want to unravel how sovereign, holy, and divine you are, Sophia is so cute. Look to the miracle that you were born without, that you asked to be born before you were even born as a soul. Look to that as a koan, as the first and ultimate teaching that points to your source being that you are an aspect of God consciousness that became its own individuated soul, with all the same divine attributes of that source. That's a lot to accept. That's a lot to take in. And it's exactly what we have to take in if we're going to understand how to unplug not only our own hearts, but humanity's heart from this collective matrix that would program us into slavery, that would program us into these dark narratives and agendas that simply do not serve our future as a species and the future of our planet. Embodying and embracing our sovereignty and the source of our sovereignty, it's a miracle. It's the get to of all of our lifetimes. Talking about our sovereignty, this hasn't happened in thousands of years on this planet. It's a real gift that we get to do this with the Sophia Code, and it's my great honor and privilege that I get to be here with you Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Pacific. Thanks for taking this opportunity to connect with Sophia's light, to contemplate the miracle of who you are, the gift of your sovereign divine light, and to be here with me and Sophia this morning and our team angels. If you have any questions, feel free to write it in the comment feed in the replay. And I look forward to connecting with you again tomorrow. Have a beautiful and blessed day, knowing how unconditionally loved you are in all ways. Namaste.